Hello and welcome back to the NMMA. We just completed the first period of free agency, which proved to be very eventful. The biggest name switching teams were by far the headlining move. Derrick Rose has left the Toronto Raptors after 3 seasons of struggling and being outside of the playoffs. He has now joined the blossoming Denver Nuggets and will form an absolutely terrifying backcourt with Steph Curry. Steph Curry is going to move to the two, and we have a very dynamic duo between the two of them. Excited to see how that plays out. Outside of that, we saw Jeff Green leave the Boston Celtics for the Portland Trailblazers, which will be very interesting because once we hit the regular season, those two teams are actually going to be swapping locations. So Jeff Green will be welcoming the rest of the Portland Trailblazers when they arrive in Boston as their newly branded team. And then we had several very big retentions as well, where Devin Harris will be remaining in Philadelphia, getting the absolute bag, getting paid, I think, like basically a max. James Harden and Paul Millsap will both remain in Cleveland, helping the Cavaliers try to make it past the second round as they've been there the past 2 years. And Monta Ellis is getting paid a supermax by the New York Knicks so that they can retain his talent. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at rosters so that everybody can see their up-to-date players and attributes. '76ers also brought back Chris Humphries, signed Rip Hamilton, Ronnie Turiaf, quite a few role players as well. Curious to see if they've improved enough to be a playoff team in the East. Bobcats retained Hansborough. Bucks unfortunately struck out. The Chicago Bulls did retain Ty Lawson and also signed Courtney Lee away from the San Antonio Spurs. That's an important role player acquisition for them. You can see the Cavs, they are now paying their stars quite a bit of money. That is the cost of success. Corey Brewer joined the Boston Celtics along with Darrell Wright. Interesting new look team to be brought to Portland. I don't believe that the Vancouver Grizzlies made any signings. The Atlanta Hawks brought in both Pietrus as well as Kyle Korver. A little IRL reunion with Atlanta. The Heat signed D'Alembert, which I'm very bullish on. I think it's a great fit next to KD. The Utah Jazz did choose to not match Taj Gibson, so he moved to the Celtics. The Kings brought in Owen Hodges, a young power forward prospect. The Knicks with Monta Ellis' new almost $100 million contract. Getting paid the big bucks to remain in Madison Square Garden. Omer Cassipy was matched, and Nene chose to re-sign with the Lakers. Pekovic re-signed with the Magic, and they also brought in T.J. Ford, who was already on a different championship team, so good veteran talent for them. Deshaun Stevenson as well, and Mike Miller and Rashard Lewis. Nice Magic legend reunion. The Mavericks' big signing was Gerald Henderson away from the Orlando Magic. Nets brought back a lot of their guys: Buford, Richardson, Isaiah Thomas. They brought in Tracy McGrady. They did lose Yao Ming, unfortunately, but a lot of other good signings. And here is the new look Denver Nuggets: Rose, Curry, Ibaka, Oden, Livingston, Ariza, Draymond Green, DJ Augustine. This is an absolute contender. I think easily going to be an over 60 win team. Man, the fact that Rose and Curry are just 24 and 25, they have a very bright future ahead of them. They're going to be in a dominant contention window. Curious to see how the Rockets are going to match up against them. That Wall Kyrie backcourt against the Rose and Curry backcourt is going to be something else. Pelicans did not make any signings, unfortunately. The Pistons, they brought in Yao Ming. Who else did they sign? I thought there was Anthony Morrow as well. The Raptors unfortunately lost Derrick Rose and struck out. They did sign Mahinmi to a new contract, but other than that, they are sitting in a very shallow roster and are going to be deep in the tank. But you know what? Kickstarting a rebuild isn't a bad thing. The Jet Jason Terry, former Rockets killer, has now joined the Rockets in a mentorship role. The Spurs just lost Courtney Lee. I think that was the only major change to their roster. Phoenix Suns did bring back Steve Nash for a 10th consecutive season with the Suns. Chris Kaman joined the Seattle SuperSonics. Will Bynum as well, and Anton Jameson. They struck out on big signings, but you know they're deep in the rebuild anyway, and they have a ton of picks, so not a bad position to be in. Boy Ahmed Ali, assalamu alaikum, brother. Re-signed with the Thunder. Timberwolves on brand. They brought in Tony Allen, Marcus Camby, Tayshaun Prince. Very elite defensive veteran talent. Trailblazers signed Jeff Green. Great acquisition for him. Warriors brought back Davis Bertans. And the Wizards did not make any signings. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at draft picks. Should be up to date with any trades that happened prior to the first period of free agency. Remember, the 2018 picks do not become available until we reach the start of the 2013-14 season that's upcoming. And any team, like you just saw the Lakers, that only has one pick because they just drafted in here, they cannot make any trades unless they're acquiring a new first. So keep that in mind. That's the issue with falling behind the two-pick requirement that comes with the modified Stepien rule. A lot of picks for the Sonics. Ton of picks for the Wizards, too. Okay, now I think the cap holds, yeah, they're no longer visible here. So next we're going to show roster size. So remember, this is extremely important. So for example, the 76ers here, and I've already talked to Tequila about this, are going to be just over that 15 player limit. So any other team that is above 15, make sure that you cut any players that you do not want on your team, because if otherwise 2K is going to make that decision for you, and you may lose players that you want to retain. On the other side, any team that is below 12 players, which I know that we have a few that are as low as like 7, I think, 2K will automatically be signing in minimum players to get you up there. So, make sure to make some offers in this upcoming period of free agency so that you can reach that minimum but not exceed the maximum. You should have maximum autonomy over your team. Okay, finally, let's take a look at the remaining free agents. So you can see the class has gotten a lot shallower. A lot of big names were signed. Corey Maggette and Jared Dudley lead the pack in as unrestricted free agents. The only remaining players who are above an 80, even including Morale. We'll scroll this way down through 70 overalls. It's crazy already seeing quite a bit of the top veteran talent that were highly drafted in the first year or so falling off so much that they may not go signed. Peja Stojakovic. I know Mike Bibby was pretty old to start in here already, but still kind of surprising to not see him on a team at all. Pretty decent mentor. I lied. We're just going to go through the 71s. So we're already getting pretty deep into the list. I'm not sure that we're going to have any reason to go any deeper. We also only had, I think, one or two young players who were signed. So go back into the previous video if you want to see people sorted by youth. That does go through, I think, 22 or 23-year-olds. And then I show the potential ratings as well. So just make sure that you refer to that. Okay, so once we get to the top here, we're next going to sort by position. Remember to be referring to your sheet to see how much cap space you have. The new signings have not been entered into your sheet just yet, so please make sure that is updated. We'll be showing cap tables right after this. We'll go through 72s. But yeah, we will not be showing affordable positions nor how much you can offer currently, because that all has to be manually calculated from the sheet. So always, always, always be keeping your sheet updated, and that'll be the quickest way to get an answer as to how much you can offer. But remember that even if you don't have cap space, that you can, if you were below the luxury tax, offer the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $3.29 million. And if you are above the luxury tax, you can still offer the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $2.31 million. Those operate separately, so anybody who is below the tax will get both mid-level exceptions. Anything past that, then you'll just be signing minimums. But there are still quite a few decent minimum players left, so any of the teams that are down, especially below 10 players, should be looking pretty deeply into this and finding a few people to sign. I'm sure that you won't have a ton of competition this time around. Darrell Arthur and Damari Carroll leading power forwards. Jason Smith, Johan Petro, Cole Aldrich, decent. Zaza Pachulia. We have a few. Brad Miller, a few okay backup centers here. Shout out the GOAT to Sagana Diop. Okay, and finally, let me make sure that the salary cap is, yep, good, turned off. We're just going to go through everybody's updated cap table so that you can use this to fill out your sheet. We have a new co-GM for the Charlotte Bobcats, that's Dilks, as well as a new lead GM for the Indiana Pacers. That's Bobby Witherspoon. So make sure to welcome them in as they get adjusted to everything. They did a great job in the first free agency period. You see the new James Harden and Paul Millsap contracts here. Cavs are going to be super locked in for the next 5 years. Al Horford's extension is just kicking in this year. Remember, don't pay attention to what the dead cap says here. The sheet is the final answer for that. So, for example, Cons, I know that you just saw the dead cap that was listed for the Grizzlies there. We've already dealt with that in Team Chat, though, and that is coming off the books after 14-15. So sometimes 2K bugs and spreads that dead cap out a little bit too far, but we can override that with our manual tracking. And I'm not going to show contract extensions again because that is at the end of the last video, so make sure to refer to that. But remember that everybody gets one non-rookie off-season extension to do. And if you have any sort of rookies who are willing to extend, which remember only happens between years 3 and 4 on the rookie contract, those are unlimited, so you can re-sign as many of them as you want. But make sure to get those in before this next deadline, or else their contract extension status may change once we get to the start of the season. A lot of people coming off the books for the Nets next year. Although notably Kevin Garnett's still making $17 million, so curious if they try to extend Dirk for like just a year or something. Or maybe they'll dangle moving Garnett after this next year. I should have commented on the new Derrick Rose contract. That Nuggets team is just looking so dominant. I could easily see them being the top team in the entire league. That Omer Asik buyout, man, still plaguing me from season 1. That'll be off the books after this year. Granted, it's just like 100,000, but dead cap can add up, so always make sure to be keeping track of that. Glad that Kendall Marshall will have Steve Nash coming back as a mentor next year. That'll definitely help with his progression, especially badge-wise. Remember, it's always a good idea to have a mentor in your deep bench, somebody with a bunch of badges that you can use to train up your rookies and get their skills developed early so that they can maximize their chances of progging overall. A lot of dead cap for the Wizards. Okay, so I know this is a pretty late night video, so we're probably not going to set the deadline until Wednesday morning, probably like in the mid to late morning, right around noon. So that'll give everybody about a day to review this and get their offers in. So happy signing.